So every day we're inching closer and closer to that commoner battle hardened here in Portland, Oregon, USA. And in honor of that, we're going to be doing deck techs all the way to the date. And today we're going to kick it off looking at one of my favorite heroes to play in general, which is Fai, but we're going to do a twist because in commoner you have to play in Rupture style. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to the channel for another installment of Dice Commando, which is our commoner format series here on the channel. Now, if you are joining us for the first time, getting ready for that battle hard end in Portland, welcome. Otherwise, you all know the deal. That's right, we talk commoner here. We do deck lists, we do all the sorts of stuff like that. Now just a reminder, over the next several weeks into Battle Hardened Portland and even beyond, we have a whole deluge of deck lists available for you. Looking at commoner stuff, we're looking at ninjas, we're looking at runeblades, we're looking at warriors, we're looking at everything. Well, maybe not everything your heart desires, but we're looking at a lot of stuff. Now, as these videos become available, channel members will get immediate access, or you can just hang out and we'll do them week by week, all through the fall into the Christmas time. And today, we are talking, again, as I mentioned, one of my favorite heroes to play in CC, which is Fai, but you have to play him slightly different because he doesn't have, let's just say, all the tools at his disposal, kind of as intended in commoner. So, quick note on this, right? What we are talking about today in terms of the ruptures, we're going to be leveraging, let's look at Lava Burst, right? Lava Burst is one of the most famous rupture cards. If you've done a link of 4, or if you have 4 chain links on the chain, 4 links on the chain, then you get to trigger the rupture, and they're generally pretty good. Now, there's a card called Searing Touch. Sees virtually no play in Constructed, but in commoner, being able to throw 2 damage is pretty good. Okay, so we're obviously going to be utilizing the Kodachis to do this instead of Searing Emberblade. So you have to play him very different, but that also opens up a lot of opportunity because we can kind of lean into, from a certain extent, a value build. Now, before we go into the list, one last thing to point out. Yes, we were playing Phoenix Flame, but you do not get Phoenix Flame out, I should say at least for free, very often with him, right? We are, of course, playing Brand with Cinderclaw, which will help set up and make it a little easier on that, which can turn your other attacks into that. But just be prepared going in that it's not going to be like an Emberblade Fire or something like that, where you're relying on that 1 damage every turn. Instead, we're kind of just playing a straight-up version. So what you see here is my deck list. Now, the list is already below, and I'm sure many of you have jammed that to check it out. But you can see at the top, we are playing 2 Kodachis. And then we are playing full on the RTT kitty package. Okay, so that's Blood Scent for the chest, Mask of 3 Tails, 3 hits on you draw, Pouncing Paws and Tearing Shuko works really well in this because you basically get another chain link, right, on demand for maybe that turn you're not able to do it. Okay, Kodachi, pop Shuko, pop Paws, you get a 2 kitty into your Lava Burst or something like that. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Now, going into the deck, you see a lot of the value-based stuff. Bittering Thorns, of course. Well, I mean, why the heck would you not play this? And what's fun in this, because you're not worrying about, in the Fai build, because you're not like doing a similar thing as Ira, which we've gotten used to on the +1, Bittering Thorns a lot of time can be your opener. And then you suck out maybe their D-React, because there's a lot of D-Reacts in this format. Suck out the D-React for the 4 block, come with a 1/1, and then you've got your Rupture on, maybe something in between. Another awesome card in this build. Honestly, one of the few reasons to play Fai over top of Ira is stuff like this, right? Blaze Headlong is super good, right? You only have needed to play a red for it. It does not have to be Draconic, but it is Draconic, which is nice. As I mentioned, we're playing 3 Brand with Cinderclaws. Well, and by 3, I mean a full rainbow of Brand with Cinderclaws. And that's just because it turns the Kodachis on, right? So it of itself is a 0, so the 0 blue pitches. The yellow can actually sometimes do what you need to do if you have an all 0. But it also makes your Kodachi, or your next attack, to be fair, or your next attack, whatever that may be, a Draconic. And just make sure that you're not leading it into a Draconic, because then you're wasting it. And you're, like, as I mentioned, you're not going to have a ton of opportunities here with which to proc, at least I should say, a free Phoenix Flame. Breaking Point, there's actually, surprisingly, not a lot of Arsenal hate, at least currently within the commoner format, and this one will get her done, right? So 1/5 in of itself is not all that bad, and it's still a 1/5 even if you don't play it, but if you play it, if you don't play it as Rupture, it's still a 1/5, which is good. But if you are able to Rupture it, if it hits, they have to blow up their arsenal. That's pretty good, right? Forces blocks. And remember, this is a low armor format, So that 5 is kind of a big deal, right? So Kodachi, come up with a 0 somewhere and breaking point. That's pretty good. Pretty good, kids. Right? Lava Burst, bread and butter Rupture. I'm playing Lava Vein, red and blue. So it's very good as a red, but it also blocks 3. This is one of the few Draconics that does block 3. So it makes a lot of sense to run this for blue. And I mean, honestly, the blue is the better card than the red, I mean. Okay, 1 Phoenix Flame. So Pouncing She doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense in here until you remember that we can make a Tiger on demand when we need it, right? So what we're trying to do here, again, this is a 3 block, so that's good. But what we're trying to do is ideally you're going to try and do your kitty into this. But remember, if you have a Rupture card and you want to, get that out, and you're having maybe a bad turn or you had to block, you can still pop your kitties, or you can still make the kitty and put pressure on. Right, we are running Rising Resentment red and Ronin Renegade red, nothing special there. Then Searing Touch. So I mentioned this before, right? So this is Ruptured when its play is link 4 or higher, deal 2 damage, and that's to any target, by the way. So if you're up against Dromai is probably not going to be a problem with the Kodachis, but you never know, right? That 2 damage coming out can sometimes be the game, right? We are playing Soulbead Strike red-blue here, right? So the red Soulbead obviously hit go again. Don't mind if I do on a Kodachi Soulbead and then threaten. Maybe that goes in Arsenal if they block it, or you get to do what you want to do. And then Water the Seeds. So remember, we want to lead with reds to set up Blaze Headlong. Water the Seeds is great because it carries its bonus for the whole chain because it's your next attack with 1 or less. So you could Water the Seeds, Blaze Headlong. I mean, Blaze Headlong is good as long as you played a red this turn, so still good. You can Water the Seeds, get a 2 Kodachi, Blaze Headlong, or whatever you want to do, right? But again, it just gets you that incremental value out of your Kodachi. And, a lot of times they don't want to block a 2, right? They certainly don't want to block a 1. Don't really want to block a 2 either, but now they got to think about it. Going into the blues, we have Wounding Blow because it's just functionally good. We have Rising Knee Thrust, and then, of course, Salt the Wound, which is kind of a Rupture in its own little way. Salt the Wound, the fact that they know that that's in the deck, has to change the math for them. Okay, going into the inventory, we're on 1 Findall's Fighting Spirit for 1 Popper, in case you run up against that Prism or the occasional Dromai, you know who you are. 2 Oasis Respite, and then AB3 with Robe, Gloves, and the Flippers. Okay, so that rounds out the deck. This one's what's great about this is pretty straightforward, right? You just try to get to link 4, do a little bit of disruption in the ninja sense, I guess, but you present a lot of bad options for your opponent in terms of blocking, right? And this will get it done, and this deck is really fun. Also, Mask of 3 Tails. Don't forget that you can actually Mask of 3 Tail, even if you don't have Go Again, you can still Mask of 3 Tails and then Arsenal, right? That is something that you can do, right? Because Mask of 3 Tails just says, if you've hit 3 or more times as combat chain, sometimes popping it and then taking that card and putting it in Arsenal, especially when you're in a deck like this, where basically everything's an attack and threatens, is actually not a horrible choice, right? So anyway, keep that in mind. Have a lot of fun with it. Pop your Tiger at the right time. Get your Ruptures. And go Commando.